At its heart, Power Through Metaphysics by Conny Méndez explores the profound relationship between thought, consciousness, and the reality that surrounds us. It is not a book of theory alone, but a practical guide intended to help the reader transform daily life by harnessing metaphysical laws. Drawing from spiritual wisdom, positive thinking, and universal truths, Méndez takes the reader on a journey from limiting beliefs toward self-empowerment, clarity, and purposeful living. Méndez begins by demystifying the term metaphysics, positioning it not as abstract philosophy, but as a tool for living with intention and awareness. She asserts that the metaphysical is simply beyond the physical, the underlying power behind the manifestation of every tangible experience. Reality, she argues, is not a fixed thing, but rather a projection or outpicturing of consciousness. Our thoughts, beliefs, and feelings act as architects, crafting reality according to their shape and character. Thus, to change the outer world, one must first change the inner. One of the core tenets Méndez presents is that each individual has the power to create their personal reality, because the universe itself is governed by mind. She teaches that every experience, negative or positive, has its roots in thought patterns and intentions, whether conscious or unconscious. There are no accidents or coincidences, only manifestations in accordance with universal laws, especially the law of cause and effect. What we give attention, emotion, and belief to, we inevitably draw into our experience. Méndez emphasizes the lawfulness of the universe, how certain principles undergird the flow of energy in our lives. Foremost among these is the law of attraction. Like attracts like. Thoughts carry vibrational power. Loving, positive thoughts attract harmonizing experiences. Fearful, resentful, or negative thoughts attract corresponding hardships. The book guides the reader to be vigilant and selective with their mental patterns, encouraging a conscious shift from pessimism and victimhood to optimism and responsibility. Throughout Power Through Metaphysics, Méndez repeatedly returns to the importance of speaking the word, the deliberate act of affirming desired outcomes and realities. Words, she insists, are carriers of creative force, especially when spoken with feeling and conviction. By declaring truths such as "I am abundant" or "I am harmonious," we set into motion the energies that begin constructing those realities. Méndez advises consistency in applying these affirmations, suggesting repetition and, more importantly, genuine belief and feeling while declaring them. She believes that the emotional charge behind the word is what imbues it with power. Méndez delves into the practice of visualization, which she calls seeing with the eyes of the mind. To her, visualizing desired outcomes, situations, or goals is a powerful method for shaping the material world. She recommends engaging all the senses, see, hear, feel, and know your desired outcome as if it is already your present reality. This mental rehearsing imprints new patterns on the subconscious, which then mobilizes unseen forces to bring about their fulfillment. The point here is not just idle wishful thinking, but engaging the creative faculties of imagination and feeling in deliberate, purposeful creation. The book also highlights the significance of gratitude. Thankfulness is viewed as a magnetic force that not only amplifies blessings, but attracts more of what one appreciates. Méndez instructs readers to cultivate an attitude of daily gratitude, even for challenges, as these often serve as catalysts for growth, or as signs of transformation underway. By focusing on the good already present in life, we multiply its presence and open ourselves to further abundance. A major thread running through Méndez's teachings is the idea of divine presence within. She urges readers to recognize the spark of the infinite within themselves, referring to it as the I Am presence. This divine aspect is not separate or distant, but inherent in every individual, always guiding, empowering, and providing. By aligning with this inner presence, individuals gain a sense of unwavering confidence, clarity, compassion, and access to spiritual intelligence that transcends ego and fear. Méndez invites the reader to foster a relationship with this presence through meditation, contemplation, and repeated affirmation. Méndez reserves significant attention for addressing and neutralizing negative emotions, thoughts, and habits. She explains that holding on to anger, resentment, or fear is akin to poisoning oneself, as these states disrupt the flow of good into life. Instead, she advocates forgiveness, not just of others, but of oneself, as a vital metaphysical practice. Forgiveness cleanses the inner slate, replenishing the mind and heart with peace, and dissolving old patterns that perpetuate suffering. Central to the book is also the topic of health and healing. Méndez contends that true healing begins on the mental and emotional plane, and only then permeates the physical body. She argues that the source of many ailments can be traced to misaligned thoughts, suppressed emotions, or the acceptance of negative beliefs about one's health. By shifting mental attitudes, affirming wholeness, radiance, vitality, and visualizing oneself in perfect health, one can set in motion the forces of rejuvenation. She reminds the reader that the body is subject to the mind, and thus can respond miraculously to persistent, loving direction from the higher self. Another important aspect Méndez explores is prosperity and abundance. She urges the reader to discard limiting beliefs about lack, poverty, or unworthiness, and to recognize prosperity as a spiritual law. Abundance, she insists, begins with consciousness, a deep-rooted sense of belonging to a universe of infinite supply. She cautions against envy, criticism, or worry concerning the prosperity of others, and recommends that readers bless the success and wealth of those around them. In this way, the mind remains open and inviting to greater supply. She prescribes regular affirmations of abundance and visualizations of financial freedom, paired with gratitude for present blessings, to break the cycle of limitation. Méndez does not present metaphysics as disconnected from everyday realities, but as a practical science for daily life. She considers it the art of living well, a discipline of mind, heart, and spirit that can and should be practiced in every moment. The book is rich with affirmations, personal anecdotes, and practical exercises designed to help the reader apply metaphysical laws in relationships, work, health, and circumstances of all kinds. In relationships, Méndez places great emphasis on the power of love, unconditional, universal love that transcends personal desires or attachments. She believes that radiating goodwill, kindness, and understanding not only transforms difficult situations, but serves as a magnet for harmony and new opportunities. Criticism, she warns, is self-defeating. What you judge or condemn in another, you attract more of into your own life. Instead, she counsels blessing those who challenge you and mentally affirming their own highest good. This practice, she claims, not only dissolves tensions, but uplifts both parties on a deep, unseen level. Throughout the book, Méndez repeatedly asks the reader to assume responsibility for all experiences, rather than blaming fate, luck, or others. This, she says, is not about guilt or self-reproach, but about recognizing one's sovereignty as a creator. Victimhood, in her teaching, is a form of mental bondage, but personal responsibility opens the door to liberation and creative power. By claiming this power, the individual can move out of frustration and limitation into a life of conscious, joyful co-creation with the universe. One of Méndez's recurring themes is the importance of simplicity and faith. She encourages the reader not to overcomplicate the metaphysical path with unnecessary rituals or intricate philosophies. Instead, she advocates for directness, sincerity, and trust in the process. Faith, believing in the unseen, expecting good, and acting as if, is portrayed as the mystical key that unlocks the treasures of the invisible. Doubt, on the other hand, diffuses energy and leads to stagnation. The book addresses the topic of prayer, redefining it as not pleading or begging, but as a recognition of one's own divine authority to call forth good. Méndez teaches that effective prayer is affirmative, awakening the mind to the reality of abundance, health, and harmony already available on a higher plane, and giving thanks for its manifestation. She emphasizes that prayer is not about persuading an external deity, but about aligning oneself with the inherent good of the universe. To help the reader internalize these principles, Méndez offers an array of affirmations and mental exercises. She suggests beginning each day with positive declarations about oneself, others, and the world. She advises monitoring stray thoughts throughout the day, consciously replacing limiting beliefs with constructive ones, and ending each day in gratitude and reflection. Over time, she claims, these practices recondition the subconscious, transform habitual reactions, and open the mind to inspiration. Méndez does not deny the presence of challenges, setbacks, or suffering in the world. Instead, she frames difficulties as opportunities for spiritual growth, as lessons encoded in the fabric of experience. She insists that every trial contains a seed of advancement, provided the individual responds with faith, understanding, and creative thought. Through persistent application of metaphysical principles, even the most seemingly intractable problems can be dissolved or reframed into opportunities. Throughout Power Through Metaphysics, Méndez underscores the importance of joy. She regards joy as the natural state of the soul and a potent energy for attracting blessings. Practicing joy, laughter, and lightheartedness, even in the face of obstacles, is not escapism, but a powerful metaphysical act. Joy, according to Méndez, raises one's vibration and creates conditions for miracles. Summing up her teaching, Méndez encourages the reader to treat metaphysics as an adventure, a path filled with wonder, growth, and creative expression. She insists that each person is both student and artist, continually shaping the canvas of life through thoughts, beliefs, feelings, and actions. The true power, she argues, lies not in external circumstances, but in recognizing and asserting one's creative authority from within. In conclusion, Power Through Metaphysics by Conny Méndez is a guide to personal transformation, self-mastery, and conscious living. It demystifies spiritual laws, presenting them as accessible, practical tools for anyone willing to apply them. The book's central message is one of empowerment. By aligning thoughts, words, and feelings with the highest truths of the universe, any individual can overcome limitation and live a life of purpose, prosperity, health, and joy. The lasting impression Méndez imparts upon her readers is a call to personal sovereignty, creative participation, and trust in the benevolent laws of the universe. By embracing her teachings, she promises, one becomes an active co-creator, manifesting good not just for oneself, but for the entire world. Each person's awakened consciousness, she suggests, ripples outward in unseen ways, uplifting the very fabric of collective reality. In this way, Power Through Metaphysics is more than a manual for individual success. It is an invitation to participate in the unfolding evolution of humanity's consciousness.